AI isn't mystical or conscious, but we are. LLMs, large language models, a kind of AI, are tools that can help us explore our head, heart, and spirit. They take patterns from practically everything ever written and filter them into something that fits our particular moment. LLMs don't think or feel, but they can reflect back to us in strange and useful ways, if we know how to ask. Each LLM BFF video is a structured prompting system designed to support an area of personal growth, self-reflection, meaning-finding, or whatever we feel like poking at or improving that week. We will walk through myriad ways to begin an AI session, how to redirect if things go off course, and how to ask the LLM to give us our findings in ways that help us put them to use in our daily lives. And if you want to bypass AI altogether, well, consider this a giant bank of journal prompts for your notebook, baby. No corporate speak, no AI butt kissing, just clear, structured prompts for your head, heart, and spirit. When we move quickly, the patterns blur. Coincidences slip by unnoticed, threads that could have reminded us we are woven into something larger. The more we rush, the less we catch. The way numbers repeat, songs surface, or strangers echo words we just thought. There is a gentler pace available. When we choose presence, we allow these subtle alignments to appear. They do not need to be solved or decoded. They are reminders that attention itself is a kind of guidance. Each moment expands when we notice how it rhymes with the next. With an LLM, we can track these synchronicities not as rigid data, but as a reflective practice. A conversation becomes a record of repetition, symbolism, and chance. It helps us see what emerges over time, showing us how our daily fragments interlace into stories we might have missed. So why do we want to track synchronicities? What use can we put the information to? Practice mindfulness. We can use synchronicities as reminders to slow down and be present, shifting from autopilot into conscious attention. Strengthen intuition. By noticing patterns, we can learn to trust our inner signals and decision-making instead of dismissing them as random. Deepen personal meaning. Tracking synchronicities helps us see connections between our inner world and daily events, giving texture and resonance to ordinary life. Mark transitions with care. Synchronicities often cluster around change. Recording them helps us recognize these thresholds and move through them more thoughtfully. Build shared connections. When we share patterns with others, synchronicities become bridges, reminders that our experiences are linked in surprising ways. How do we do it? Using a simple system to get us familiar with how LLMs can help us out. First is framing. It's important to get into the right headspace before beginning. We'll do this with some questions for self-reflection. Next comes our initial prompt in the form of intention plus format. This is what we first enter into the LLM chat to make sure the course is set to get the answers we're after. We'll look at 6 examples of different ways to begin, depending on our vibe that day. Then we'll discuss iteration with examples of how we might reshape the conversation if it starts getting a little off track. Finally, we'll look at takeaways. We'll discuss 6 different ways we might ask for our final outputs and put the information to use. So let's get started with framing. Ask yourself, how does it feel when coincidences repeat? Comforting, unsettling, or something else? When did I last pause long enough to notice a coincidence? What symbols seem to follow me across places and days? Pause here and continue when your headspace is cleared. It's important to keep some caveats in mind when using LLMs. This is not therapy. LLMs can support introspection, but they aren't able to hold emotional complexity like a human. Don't get all weird about it. LLMs are not magic. They reflect patterns. It's useful because it's mechanical, not mystical. You're the mystical one. LLMs are people pleasers. They aim to agree and support, unless you tell them to challenge. Don't mistake helpfulness for honesty. Employ a little skepticism. Agency lives with the user. LLMs can mirror, question, and organize, but you choose what resonates and what doesn't. Now let's open our LLM in the browser. We'll start with our intention stated clearly. I want to track synchronicities. Before we submit, let's look at some ways we can customize our initial prompt to our tastes. I usually just embrace the absurdity of life. How can I break through resistance and pay attention to symbols in my life? I get distracted easily and forget things that stood out. What are techniques for symbolically cataloging on the go? I spend so much time in my own head, I'm rarely aware of my surroundings. Can you suggest activities that would encourage stepping outside myself? Can you help me create a structured log, dates, times, symbols, meanings, so I can analyze patterns and see everything laid out clearly? If I spit out a bunch of random events where I felt something weird, can you suggest where some things link that I might not have noticed? I notice things all the time, but want to move beyond that. What do different thinkers say about synchronicities? Once we've worked with our initial prompt and had some back and forth, we might find ourselves getting a little off the point, or getting answers that aren't very suited to us. Let's look at a few iterations that can course correct the combo. I get bored with seriousness. Can you suggest ways to make this practice feel more like a game? I'm afraid these practices will take me out of the moment. What are some subtle recognitions I could do, then move on? I don't want this to become obsessive. Can you give me gentle boundaries for how much to track each day? I want to balance structure with intuition. Can you propose a system that leaves space for both? I feel impatient. Can you show me quick categories these events fall into without over-explaining anything? Based on the ideas I liked, can you create an amalgam that weaves in my own thoughts about synchronicities? The conversation is winding down and we have some good ideas brewing. Let's look at some ways we can ask the LLM for our results and make sure we have a game plan for putting the results to use in our daily lives. Take what we've talked about and give me 3 random things to keep an eye out for this week. Help me categorize the kind of synchronicities I have, then write mantras for each that I can say in my head to mark the moment. Can you give me 4 journal prompts for discussing coincidences I encounter in my life? I'll come back at the end of the week and send my data. Will you identify patterns and suggest some things to consider? Give me a guide to how each body sensation might map to a kind of synchronicity, like heart flutter, raised hair on the back of neck, etc. Sum up our conversation in a quick phrase I can design a phone background around, so I'm constantly reminded to search. We've traced how synchronicities can move from fleeting impressions to something we can hold. Whether playful, structured, or symbolic, each person finds a different way to stay with these alignments. What matters isn't decoding every sign, but practicing attention and allowing small repetitions to slow us down and shape how we notice. By tracking, we give ourselves a mirror of the moment. Coincidences become less about mystery solved, more about presence lived. However we choose to record them, charts, diaries, fragments, artifacts, the act itself reminds us that life is patterned, and that our awareness is what ties it all together. This has been LLM BFF. Useful cases, no mystery. Goodbye.